Let's see. I'm resident of Colorado for YouTube, Joel Sains. It's my buddy Patrick McCray. That's my buddy Gordon Dymowski. We're here to talk Planet of the Apes, starring Charlton Heston. Really a classic movie. So, guys, I have
Oh,
so
okay,
many.
hold on. I thought we were talking about Hondo Ranch 3 tonight. Did I miss something?
Colt Falcon.
Guys, this movie, they're obviously flying through outer space. I think it's the female astronaut who does not end up making it. What did you guys think of first of all, the opening of this massive movie? It just feels so well it's a great cinematic masterpiece. What did you guys think of the opening?
The special effects are in the writing. A fantastic monologue by Rod Serling.
Yeah, and it really sets the tone for the real arc of the movie, which is, Charlton Heston is Taylor. He's basically he is sick of humanity. He wants to find something better. I mean, you can imagine that in this story, if there were a prelude, when they're looking for volunteers, it's like, okay, the two astronauts, the two male astronauts and the female astronaut are feeling, hey, look, a polycule. They're going to get freaky, and Taylor's just going to be like the cranky old guy in the mountains trying to find something that's better than humanity. Pardon, Patrick?
It just Heston's going, do what you want.
Yeah, and so it kind of sets up the fact that he's not leaving Earth for some grand future. He's trying to find something of meaning, and so he gives himself, he shoots himself up with heroin because that's what you need in space travel is lots of heroin. It's science. Ask NASA. And I think it's, and the fact that they set this up as they're heading out to the stars. But the great thing about the crash sequences, they couldn't actually film. They just used a bunch of like different angles because they didn't have the budget to film like an actual spacecraft going into the water. And I think it has that great kind of disorienting effect.
It's much more effective. I think it doesn't feel like special effects. It feels like this is really going on. Mm-hmm. Doing it completely from their point of view. And of course, the whole thing's about point of view, really, the whole movie. And it's a wonderful economic move. It's one of those great things where one of the secrets to good special effects is not having a lot of money. It's having taste. Mm-hmm. It's having good taste. And they really have very good taste with how they handle that. Because it would be any exterior shot of a spaceship would just immediately make the movie dated. Mm-hmm. But the fact that we don't have that we're just seeing it from their perspective, don't write anything that the special effects budget can't handle. Don't shoot anything that's not going to be 100% incredible, in 40 years' time, like Star Wars. Mm-hmm. So it's a masterstroke.
Mm-hmm. Something I noticed too is I love how they don't recognize where they are. And that's sort of part of the story in the tease as well. Is they presume or assume they're on a different planet.
Mm-hmm. Well, they have no reason. They have no reason to think otherwise.
Yep.
They're asleep on re-entry, so they can't see any of the continental shapes or anything like that.
Yeah. And
the giveaway would have been the constellations.
Yeah.
And they were my favorite soul band of the 1960s, the Constellations.
Well, I assume at night there are all those weird lightning storms and strange cloud formations and things like that that really kept them from seeing anything.
And one of the astronauts plants an American flag, and Taylor laughs about it.
Sure.
Why do you guys think? Why do you guys think he was laughing at it?
Because it's so stupid. There's no relevance to that symbol. That symbol is only relevant when you have people back on Earth who can look at it and appreciate it, along with Richard Nixon's name on the plaque. You know, and if there is no America,
Yeah.
you know, it's just these three schmucks who wind up on this planet, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's vainglorious.
Yeah. And keep in mind, Joel, at the very beginning of the movie, if you look at one of the panels, it's got like their departure date is 1972, and their arrival date is estimated to be like 31 something. They're not thinking, oh, we're going to go back to Earth. They're thinking the whole idea is it's either faster than light or close to it, which means time dilation, which means by the time they get to wherever they're going, they know there's not going to be in America. So it's not. It's easy because much of this movie has been memeified and is so prevalent. It's easy to forget to step back, and this is not about. It's not about a setup to the ending. At this point, Taylor's laughing because one, there's he's away from Earth, and two, it's just a stupid thing to do. It's it would be like me dropping trowel right now because you can only see me from the waist from the shoulders up.
Yeah, if Landon had done it, is it Dodge or Landon? Who was the golden boy of the class of 72? I think it's Landon.
Yeah, I think it's Landon.
Brain, you bloody baboon. Yeah, Landon. If Landon had done it with laughing as he put it down, like, hey guys, look at this. Here we are. Another Neil Armstrong, even though he hadn't landed on the moon yet. Taylor probably just would have nodded. But the fact that Landon's so sincere, he takes it seriously. He's trying.
Yeah.
And for what? The golden boy of the class of 72, and your number came up and you couldn't say no.
Yeah. What did you guys think of their exploring the landscape? Because, like you guys said, because I love what Taylor says. He goes, everybody we know from back home is long gone, dead and gone. It's just them. The female obviously dies, and they're exploring the land. They have their clothes stolen by other humans, which I love.
That was the business.
Yeah. And they obviously, as they're chasing for their clothes, they're going to come across apes. What did you guys think? Because this is the first movie that has the ape costumes. What did you guys think of the wonderful costume design?
It's some of the best costume design all over. It's some of the best costume design I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is it is this wonderful mix of what should be familiar, rough-hewn cloth and leather, and yet something so totally alien. But it has such an internally consistent aesthetic, and I love that about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think too, the whole point of that travel scene is, in a weird way, to build tension. Because even though it's not, there's no overt threat yet, they're exploring an alien world, which happens to look a lot like Utah. That's where they filmed. That's where they filmed it. And so when you get to a scene where the clothes are stolen, they move through that, and then you get to like the cornfields where you see the stalks kind of going down and down, and you hear that weird kind of didgeridoo type sound, and you see the men in the gorilla costumes. Because that's a shock. Because I'm sure at this point the audience is going, okay, where are the apes? Planet of the Apes. And it's announced that this is, and the makeup, which was created by John Chambers, who did the Spock ears and who's done a lot of really cool makeups. The great thing about it is you not only have the expressions of the eyes, but they do not look like guys in masks. It looks almost organic, and it's very striking.
It's cool to see the evolution of that makeup also from the stuff that William Tuttle did for the screen tests with Edward G. Robinson and James Brolin, where they just kind of look like melted humans. This looks very simian, but not.
Yeah, like the total makeup. It's like there's like it's like the weird smooth foreheads and Edward G. Robinson's like goatee hole. Not glory hole, Jewel. Goatee hole.
Yeah.
The name of the bar in Westwood, by the way.
Here's a question for you guys, because obviously Taylor's an iconic character, Charlton Heston. But how iconic has sort of Dr. Zaius become throughout time?
Well, he has his own YouTube show, Hanging with Dr. Z. It's 3 seasons. He comes out, interviews guests, does a little soft shoe, tells some jokes.
It's really great. You should see it. It's one of my favorite things. It is a lift every year, every other year when it appears.
Mm-hmm. It's pure joy, Joel. You need to watch it. It's on YouTube. It's free.
And it's done by the guy who wrote the foreword to the Dark Shadows Daybook.
Yeah,
Joel. So you need to do that. In fact, Joel, why don't you do that now? And Patrick and I will keep talking Planet of the Apes.
Oh my god! This obviously Charlton Heston. He's a big star. He does Planet of the Apes, and I really love his chemistry because he doesn't. There's a portion of this movie where he doesn't talk. And what's fun is Charlton Heston actually does really lose his voice in this. So when he gains his voice back in the movie, he's a bit raspy, and he says, "Get your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape." And it's one of the most memorable lines in the movie.
Heston had the flu when he shot that, so his voice actually was very hoarse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't Mr. Ed, but yeah.
Yeah, it was a good thing that Heston didn't die of the flu, because then he would have been a corpse. And as we all know, a corpse is a corpse, of course, of course.
Yes. Oh my god. Oh my god. Obviously, you guys, it's filmed in Utah. So, what did you guys think of the Utah setting they used? It was very smart.
It's beautiful. It's just stark and weird. It's not some lush, Lawrence of Arabia type desert. I mean, this is a place that's built to make you die.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like an alien world.
Yeah, it makes you appreciate the veldt that they find even more. And then when you come across those scarecrows, those really bizarre scarecrows, that's to me, that's one of the most frightening and stark images, because we're not alone, and these things do not look friendly.
Yeah. I think it was really interesting to see how humanity had fallen, because when you see the humans and they're not talking, and we just seen the travelers come through space and they were talking, and you can tell right away that the humans don't talk and the apes do. So the apes are a higher intelligence. I think just the psychology of this movie, and thinking about the sequels we discussed priorhand, is just amazing. What did you guys think of Taylor's? Because they take him to court, which I love. What did you guys think of that?
It's a scene dripping with heavy-handed irony that should have all the subtlety of an anvil to the groin, but it doesn't. It just works. The writing of it is so crisp, and the observations are so necessary. Just about human hypocrisy.
Yeah, and this would probably be
the sequences. It's a delight.
Yeah, and sorry to interrupt.
No, I'm done.
I think this is this shows the influence of Michael Wilson, who co-wrote the script, because Serling had done the main script, but before shooting, they had to figure out the original script and the original novel by Pierre Boulle. Ape Society was slightly more futuristic than Humanity, because they had jetpacks and flying cars and helicopters. And every iteration of the script, what they realized was they couldn't afford to do it because it would mean more of a budget, and it was hard to tell the story. So they did two things. One was to strip down to a more primitive ape planet because it would be cheaper. You didn't have to worry about building cities and other equipment. But they also brought in Michael Wilson, who brought in, like, the courtroom scene. And Wilson had been a blacklisted writer, so it was his kind of little. If you ever want to see, like, anyone who is blacklisted get back at, kind of bite the hand that feeds them, look at Dalton Trumbo, who basically worked under pseudonyms. In fact, was nominated for an Oscar under a pseudonym, but he didn't go to claim it. Look at Edward Dmytryk, who directed the Caine Mutiny. Shout out to Butch Rosenberg, where there's a sense of, yeah, you guys screwed me over, and I'm going to show you how wrong you are. And I think that whole court scene was Michael Wilson's kind of influence, where it's kind of the, okay, we all know what's going on here. We all know that this is a sham, but we're not going to play out that it's a sham.
I like, too, that Roddy McDowall, Kim Hunter, they play their characters in this movie, too. Really, really great chemistry with Charlton Heston's character. What did you guys think?
They all have, the four major actors in the film have marvelous chemistry, and they each have a different energy that brings a lot to it. And it also sets up Cornelius on a nice journey over the course of the films, because he will become far more open-minded and progressive as things go on. He's pretty conservative in this. Cornelius, he didn't want to take any chances. But he has to, because, the old ball and chain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, too, it helps that what could have been, like, they could have, now these weren't exactly, Heston and maybe Morris Evans were maybe the primary quote-unquote A-listers at the time. But if you had gone all A-listers, I don't think it would have worked, because they would have, I think, been focused on their performance and not the interaction. If you got all B and C listers, which they probably could have too, for the budget, you wouldn't have that chemistry. You just have you'd have Bert Convy as Barnabas Collins, basically. But here, it helps that by this time, Heston, I think Heston's a very underrated actor, especially when you look at his entire body of work. McDowell and I'm forgetting the woman who played Kim Hunter. Thank you. We're both doing, like, TV and guest shots, so they were consistently working as well as movies. And Morris Evans also was a known character actor, and having that helps because it gives the script the right amount of weight. And it also gives them, despite them playing simians, makes them more human, because a lot of their behavior is grounded in human foibles. They just happen to have weird things on their faces.
It's a really, really fun movie. Because there's so many great characters in this movie, who's your favorite character in this movie?
Dr. Zayas. He's such a wonderful portrait of bureaucracy.
Yeah, and also Zayas is the one who is the most. He's probably the one character who is the most hypocritical, because when we find out, like, what's in the Forbidden City, and that he knew about it. It is, and again, I think that, and that might even be an interplay between Serling and Wilson, because you've got the former blacklisted editor, but Serling's, one of his big themes is like the person who knows more, but who, he always writes about moral compromise. And I think, those scenes where they find the doll and the glasses, and even if, and at this point, Taylor's still thinking he's on another world, but the fact that that Zaius is like, oh, we knew this, but we didn't want to say anything because we knew it would be the end.
Yeah. With that whole Forgotten Set, I think the ending of this movie is one of the best, plot twists in cinema history. The Statue of Liberty being blown up, obviously. How shocked at that were you guys?
Well, not very, because it was on the cover of the comic book and everything else I had. But I think for audiences at the time, it was a huge psycho level twist ending.
Yeah, and keep in mind. Yeah, and I think it's one of those things that's been so memed. It's hard to forget that this is basically the climax of Taylor's arc, because at this point he's with Nova. They're on horses, and they're like, you know what? He's planning to just, he's found something to believe in. He's gained a little bit of hope. And if not, he's got a really attractive young woman that they can make babies, and he can do grumpy old man stuff. And seeing the Statue of Liberty, one, it's a shock that it's a shock on multiple levels. He's not on another planet. He's on Earth. He was hoping for something better than man. What did man do? They messed up and they killed themselves. Humanity, bleeped themselves over. And so at the time, it was kind of a big shock. And it's still, I think, it's easy to forget that, there's a weight in this. And this is probably the only element throughout all of Serling's scripts was this ending. So you knew that Serling was making a point. This was like, and Serling, subtle, when it comes to morals, Serling was not subtle. This is a way of saying, hey, look, this is going to happen. Our behavior is going to lead us to not only destroying ourselves, but being basically cattle. Because that's all humanity is to the apes at this point. We're just, we're not, human see, human do. We might as well be like dogs, and the way we treat dogs and cats in our current society. And I think that it didn't have that kind of zing for me necessarily, but a few years ago, during one of the times where I was caring for Mom and she was in the hospital, I rewatched this movie, but I did it from the standpoint of knowing what I know about it. Can I just kind of hold back on that and watch it as a piece of art and allow myself to just be surprised by the movie? And it is surprising, because when you have that certain kind of distance, and everybody knows this movie, even if they've never seen it. There are people who break out, there are people who think they know the movie without having seen it.
Well, Gordon, we reached a point of cultural amnesia with teenagers about 15, 16 years ago. I remember showing this to a class about 16 years ago for the first time. And they were detached enough from this as a cultural meme. They had no idea what the ending was. And on one hand, that was kind of sad. On the other hand, it was marvelous because there is such cultural amnesia that people can approach it and see it fresh for the first time. And it works as a movie.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
It still works as a movie. Yeah. They were really shocked. And every year there's some older film that I kind of trot out that they get, that they really enjoy. The past couple of years has been Some Like It Hot. Mm-hmm. And then there is an older film that they should get that other years of kids have gotten. And these are seniors. And they just could not care less. You wouldn't believe what it was this year. It was actually an imposition to show it. It felt like, in some ways, Alien. They were just, I think they were just bored out of their mind. They couldn't believe. And it's not that they were so sophisticated. I don't know what the hell it was. I mean, they own their experience. I mean, it's an honest read. I mean, that's not anything critical about them. But yeah, Alien. I mean, I tried putting on Aliens, thinking maybe it would, kind of fix it. I couldn't get through almost any of it. I think maybe with one section I was able.
Yeah, I wonder if it may be that, certain movies you need to have a certain amount of time before you get that cultural amnesia. And that Alien and Aliens are kind of still in that period somewhat.
I don't know. They hadn't heard of it at all.
Because it's like when I had seen The Duelists, Scott's first film, and I thought, oh, okay, it'll be interesting because I wonder what the pattern was between that and Alien. And what I realized is Duelists is his first film. Alien's only his second film.
Yeah.
And that just blew me away. I mean, love The Duelists. This isn't, I'm not throwing shade on it. It just surprised me that he was that accomplished and that centered for his first film. And I thought, okay, maybe there's a film or two where he got to Alien rather than the direct route.
Yeah, great movie. I think this movie's a solid 10 all time.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
It's a pure classic from start to finish. My
this
favorite
library this level.
Yeah, my favorite character, obviously, it is Taylor. But I also think Taylor and Dr. Zay has become one of the best. Conversation between the two is just really good. It's great,
and that's the Serling. He's good at that. At moral conversations.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Obviously, you guys give this a 10. What do you?
Oh yeah, I mean, the numbers don't even apply at this point. I mean, it's like something that always existed. It's a primal element of a film.
Yeah. I have no further questions about this movie. Is there anything you guys want to
add? This is a movie that speaks so clearly for itself that the work of Eric Green, the great Eric Green notwithstanding, I'm humbled by it. I just want to watch it again more than talk about it, and that's a rare thing. I really wonder if any conversation about the film is better or more enlightening than just the core text itself.
Yeah, this is a film that had a profound effect on me. Like, this is in my DNA the same way Dark Shadows is in my DNA, Doctor Who is in my DNA, Star Trek is in my DNA. There are other weird things in my DNA. Just don't do any matter transportation experiments with me.
Isn't it amazing though that they all came out within about 10 years of each other?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What a decade to have lived through.
Yeah.
Wow, just culturally.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is a film that is, it's even if you've seen it 20,000 times, see it a 21st, see it another time, because there's a richness to it. There is craft and intelligence. This is not a movie that talks down to you.
No.
And the fact that you had 4 sequels come after it, 2 of which are really good and the other 2 are questionable, speaks a lot about how at least there was enough creativity to think, where can we take the story?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. First of all, thank you guys for doing this one with me tonight again. Can we do Beneath Sunday?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah, let's do Beneath Sunday.
Okay. Saturday, we're doing House on Haunted Hill and the remake House on Haunted Hill as a double feature. We'll try to get 10:30 as a start time. I'll message Butch. So, guys, links to Gordon Dymowski's Amazon page is going to be in the description box. Links to Patrick McCray's The Dark Shadows Daybook Unbound is going to be in the description box. You guys have a pleasant night.
Take care.
Good night.
Yeah.